I am Emily, a 33-year-old office worker who tragically lost my parents in a car accident at the tender age of 8. Initially, my 5-year-old brother, Ethan, and I were taken in by our paternal grandparents. Despite their desperate efforts to raise us, the task proved challenging in their retirement years. 3 years later, I found a new home with my aunt and uncle, who became my adopted parents. The transition was nerve-wracking as I moved away from my grandparents, but my aunt and uncle welcomed me with open arms, treating me as their own. Let's slowly become a real family for us. You are already our daughter, my uncle reassured me, bringing a sense of relief. Although my new home was a 30-minute train ride away from my grandparents, I cherished the hope of visiting my brother when I got older. Being adopted into a family brought unique challenges, but I came to understand that blood relation and a parent-child relationship are not synonymous. Over time and shared experiences, I realized that a mother isn't only someone who gives birth. It's the bonds formed through love and patience. As I navigated through life with my aunt and uncle, I learned that family goes beyond blood ties. While I only shared the truth with close friends, they were surprised to discover that we weren't blood related. A friend's mom once commended my well-adjusted upbringing, but I attributed it to the remarkable love and patience of my adoptive parents. Initially, I struggled to fully open up and was even rebellious at times. Yet, my aunt and uncle faced and accepted me with unwavering patience. Now, as an adult, I find myself wanting to give back to them. With gratitude in my heart, I joined my uncle's company, worked diligently, and have now become a supervisor, a small way of expressing my appreciation to the two people I truly consider as my parents. I maintained regular contact with my brother once we both acquired cell phones. Our communication primarily consisted of texts and calls, and I would occasionally visit him. However, after high school, our meetings became less frequent, and he would only respond to my sporadic texts. It's a common occurrence for siblings of different genders to drift apart as they age. Despite the growing distance, my brother thrived in our grandparents' house, remaining kind. Although he may have felt moments of loneliness without parents, he never caused significant worry and matured over time. Eventually, he graduated from college and secured a position in a well-known company, a source of immense pride for our grandparents and me. This year, on his 30th birthday, my brother reached out unexpectedly, expressing his desire for me to meet the woman he was marrying. While I felt a bit upstaged, the news of his impending marriage brought genuine joy. Regretfully, our grandparents, who passed away in the last 2 to 3 years, couldn't be present to celebrate. A few days later, my brother brought his fiancee, Samantha, to our house, where my aunt, uncle, and I reside. "Let me introduce you. This is Samantha, my fiancée," he proudly announced. Reflecting on our journey from losing our parents at a young age to being eventually separated, he expressed warmth in his eyes. Witnessing my brother's happy face made me feel almost maternal towards him. As he introduced Samantha, I greeted her warmly. "I'm his sister, Emily. Thank you for coming today." I couldn't help but express my happiness at seeing my little brother all grown up. My aunt and uncle also welcomed Samantha with smiles and warm greetings. "Congratulations on your engagement. I'm glad to meet Samantha too," I added. Samantha responded briskly with a smile, expressing her gratitude for the warm reception. "No, it's only natural for us to come and greet you. I also wanted to have a chat with my future sister-in-law," she said, initiating a friendly conversation. I had envisioned her as a sheltered young lady, being the daughter of a company president. However, she appeared quite capable. Ethan, being a gentle and easygoing type, perhaps complimented her well. That day, as we all introduced ourselves and chatted over cake, my aunt and uncle included, she looked directly at me with determined eyes. Amidst various questions about my single status, plans for marriage, and life as the adopted child of the family, she seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me, her future sister-in-law. As we exchanged contact information before parting, she later reached out, suggesting we meet at a cafe. It felt like the beginning of gaining a sister, a somewhat ticklish feeling. However, my cheerful mood took an abrupt turn as we sat down for coffee. Ethan's fiancee expressed a desire to talk with me alone. Anticipating a discussion about my brother, I reassured her that I was open to any complaints or hard to say things. To my surprise, that wasn't her concern. With a sigh, she gazed intently at me and said, "I have a favor to ask before we get married." Her choice of words made me apprehensive. "So, you're the adopted child of that couple and single, right?" I confirmed, taken aback by her sudden question. Then she dropped a bombshell. "Ethan is practically a stranger to you now, right? Please don't involve yourself with us after we get married. We won't invite you to the wedding since you're a stranger." Stunned, I blurted out my surprise. Just wait a minute. What is she talking about? I might be a stranger legally to my brother, but we are real siblings. I have no intention of meddling in your married life, but I do want to attend and celebrate your wedding. I've heard that no family is free of problems between daughters-in-law, mothers-in-law, or sisters-in-law. Is she trying to preemptively ward off any potential issues with me, her future sister-in-law? But I have no intention of interfering in my brother's marital life. I gently reassured her that there was no need to be so wary, but she shook her head at my words and spoke again. "Please don't misunderstand. I'm saying you're a stranger to us, family yet considered strangers." I couldn't comprehend what she was saying and tilted my head in confusion. "Ethan and you have been strangers for a long time, right? You're still unmarried and living with those elderly folks, not even on your own. Being an adopted child and single, it would be troubling if you were to rely on us in the future," she declared firmly, delivering such cold words for the sister of her future spouse. Taken aback, I responded, but she continued without concern. "It's out of the question for you to rely on us after they pass away. They're still healthy, so please don't say such things. Besides, I have my own job and income. For now, if you were unemployed, I wouldn't have even come to greet you." She interrupted me, glaring. "Anyway, we won't invite you to the wedding, and you don't need to invite us to any of your family events either. Just because you're single, don't expect any future support or care from us." I felt a wave of confusion and questioned what she thought of me. Sure, I'm single now, but I have a job and savings. Considering a family member of her future spouse in such a way made me feel dizzy. I tried to express my understanding, but not even being notified about family events seemed too extreme. "I understand how you feel, but not even notifying about family events seems too much. I don't think Ethan would agree. Just because we've seen less of each other as adults doesn't mean our family bond is gone," I responded firmly. "Well, minimal involvement is unavoidable, I guess, but please gradually distance yourself," she said so nonchalantly, making me feel sad. "I'm asking for the sake of our happy marriage. If you refuse, it might complicate our marriage. Remember, it was Ethan who wanted to marry. Think about his happiness, okay?" She implied that if I didn't accept this, she might not marry Ethan. It sounded more like a unilateral ultimatum than a request. The proud smile Ethan had just days ago came to mind. While the conditions seemed unreasonable, I didn't want to interfere with my brother's marriage. Faced with her irrational demands, I was left speechless. That night, when I told my aunt and uncle about the day's events, they both found it hard to believe. Understandably so, as she seemed so pleasant when we talked the other day. I was equally shocked. Initially, I thought she didn't want a sister-in-law meddling, but it went beyond that. She insisted that we were strangers and wouldn't hear otherwise. Concerned, my uncle asked, "What will you do?" I replied, "I don't want to ruin Ethan's wedding. I'm not happy about it, but I'll skip it. Once things settle, I'll meet with Ethan alone to celebrate." "I see, but if Emily is treated like that, we have no desire to attend either." My aunt nodded in agreement. "Seems like the problem is on that young lady's side, isn't it?" My uncle said, puzzled, and my uncle nodded with a slight smile. Then came the wedding day, with a clear and blue sky. I should have been there to witness my dear brother's special day up close, but it couldn't be helped. My cell phone rang, displaying Samantha's name. I had saved her number affectionately, thinking she'd become my sister-in-law. But now she was a stranger. Feeling no obligation to answer the call, I switched to silent mode, but the calls persisted, like a persistent demon. My aunt and uncle chuckled, guessing who was calling. I wondered what kind of face Samantha, who had bluntly told me I was a stranger, was making. The calls finally stopped, but my phone's call history was filled with Samantha's name. I chuckled at the thought of her being a stalker. There were voicemails, but I didn't feel like listening to them. That afternoon, as my aunt, uncle, and I enjoyed our favorite donuts, the intercom rang insistently. When I went to the door, Samantha, Ethan's fiancée, burst in furiously. "Why aren't you answering your phone? Do you know how many times I called? Aren't you supposed to be getting married today?" she exclaimed. I calmly responded, "What do you want at a stranger's house? It's your fault the wedding's ruined." Samantha was taken aback. "Excuse me?" I smiled back unfazed. "You didn't let your uncle and aunt attend because you weren't invited." "I haven't done anything. I just didn't go to the wedding, as you told me." "That's right, you told me not to come to the wedding because I'm a stranger. Why should I answer a stranger's call?" I continued. Samantha questioned, "So, why are you here?" I replied, "Well, because your uncle here is the president of the Electrical Industry Association," and someone started saying he wasn't there. Suddenly, Ethan appeared with Samantha. "Ethan, sorry. I thought she ran off without listening to me, but she really came here." "Sorry, Emily. I didn't know anything." "What happened?" he asked. Samantha explained. "I heard from Samantha that you wouldn't attend. She said you had to meet your boyfriend's parents on this day, and it was hard for you to tell me. I thought that was understandable." I couldn't help but chuckle at the convincing lie for a reason not to attend my brother's wedding. I was impressed. Then today, when attendees noticed our uncle's absence, they started asking why the chief guest wasn't there. Someone close to our uncle mentioned that his daughter was denied attendance, and she's the groom's real sister. Samantha's parents were shocked, saying they knew nothing about it. Relatives and other guests got involved, causing a big commotion. So the wedding turned into chaos, whether it was expected or not. Biting her lip, Samantha glared at me again. "Because of you, I was criticized terribly, called inhumane. If you had answered the phone and come to the wedding, things might have been different, you heartless person." Who's heartless here, I wonder? Uncle, who had been observing quietly, stood up and spoke. I decided not to attend on my own. Emily, in fact, wanted me to be there for her brother. I'm a businessman and currently the president of the Electrical Industry Association. I have connections with Ethan's major manufacturing company and your father's component factory, but you've just ruined a good relationship. Your thoughtless actions are going to make your position and even your father's company situation very difficult. By the way, Emily is now a supervisor in our company. She's indispensable, studying technology and management every day. And she's been the secretary of the Electrical Industry Association for 2 years now, building quite a network in the industry." Samantha, who had underestimated me as a poor, troublesome single woman, opened her eyes wide, uttering a ridiculous sound. Indeed, Emily and Ethan lost their real parents when they were young. It's sadder than we can imagine. Uncle's voice was calm yet dignified, but Emily has bravely and positively carved out her life. Judging her foolishly just because she's adopted and single is far more foolish of you, Samantha. Samantha was left speechless, having no words to counter my uncle's argument. Yet again, she lashed out at me, "This liar. If your uncle is such an important and wealthy person, you should have told me. Then I would have let you attend the wedding. Enough already." I sharply dismissed her childish behavior. "I tried to talk about my work, but you were the one who didn't listen. Remember, we all introduced ourselves on the day we first met. You only remembered that I was single and adopted. People like you, who judge others only by their titles or appearances, end up in situations like this. I'm not living here because I can't afford to live alone. I want to be with my parents, but we are a family now. As a stranger, you should leave. Wait, you need to help me out here." I find myself unfairly portrayed as the villain in this sisterly dispute. Do something? I'm not your sister. I'm a stranger, I corrected her with a smile. I'm the adorable fiancée of your brother, so I'm like a sister, right? Despite my attempts to clarify, the conversation seemed pointless. You should take responsibility for your own words. I'll take back what I said before if you help me smooth things over, she insisted. There's nothing a stranger like me can do. Wait, goodbye then, I stated firmly. She protested, no, come on, let's go, as Ethan reluctantly led his protesting fiancé away. Afterward, Ethan and Samantha's engagement was called off, and she had to deal with the wedding cancellation fees. Despite her complaints, her parents accepted that it was her fault. Despite being the daughter of a president, her father's company was just a small factory, and maintaining relationships with Ethan's major company and my uncle's electrical industry association was crucial for survival. Due to her actions, her father had to apologize profusely. Samantha, having caused such a mess, was reprimanded and not allowed to return home. She tried to stay with friends, but after the wedding fiasco, they distanced themselves and no one offered help. Ethan came to apologize, reflecting on his choices. She only liked me because I worked for a major company and had no parents to trouble her. The way she treated you like an obstacle, I hate that I couldn't see through her. Ethan slumped, and we all tried to comfort him. It's good that we weren't married yet, and she was pretty. It's not your fault for being deceived by someone who hid her true self. I reassured him. You're too kind. It's a shame about her, but someday you'll find someone who truly cares for you, I said, hopeful. Here, Ethan, your favorite donuts. Let's have some coffee, I suggested, trying to lighten the mood. This incident somehow brought me closer to Ethan, with whom I had lost touch as adults. I realized I had also been neglecting to contact my brother. The initial news of his engagement was the reason for our reunion, so in a way, I'm grateful to her. Watching Ethan and my aunt and uncle talk like a real family, I pondered these thoughts. Friends, lovers, family. Maybe we take those closest to us for granted and forget to show them care. I resolved to cherish my loved ones more. How are your loved ones doing?